and another young lady who did a tremendous job in her opportunity to speak of the man that she knew for so many years, former Blazers Director of Community Relations, now a prominent member of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Portland. That would be Traci Rose, who is on set with us now. We love looking at Darnell Valentine, but a vision of loveliness, to be sure, that surpasses anything that DV provided. But
I appreciate that.
He would understand that, of course. But I could only imagine for somebody that you knew so well, and I think Terry Kersey pointed out that we've been in that building a few too many times lately for these purposes, unfortunately, but had to be an emotional day, and you handled it terrifically.
Well, thank you. It's still a little bit surreal.
But you told some great memories, and if you would, retell the story about the time you got a call at your desk from Jerome asking you to bring something down to the garage.
It's my favorite. It was in June of 1992. We were on our way to the finals for the second time in 3 years. That team was rather popular, to say the least. I have often likened it to, they were like the Beatles to Portland. They couldn't go out in public without people running and screaming after them. And it was, as you know, it was during the finals. It's different today because it's even tighter. But back then, it's like in the playoffs, your hands off the players. You don't ask them for anything. They're eye of the tiger, all about basketball. So we wouldn't ask him for anything, and it was unusual just to have one player make an appearance during the playoffs. But I was at my desk, and Jerome called me. He's like, hey, I'm in the parking lot. I need you to come down, bring me an autographed basketball and a cap and a shirt and other things, anything you might have. So I said, okay. And I put a package of things together for him, and I got down to the parking lot. And again, this is like they're headed to Chicago to play in the finals. And in the parking lot was Jerome and Clyde and Buck and Duck and Terry, the whole starting five of that team. And Jerome had met a woman in the store, complete stranger, who told her about a kid who was in the hospital and that he was a big Blazer fan. And he called his brothers and said, let's go. And they all met at the office and took their goodie bag and went up and spent the afternoon with them.
Well, I think that that story is Jerome.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew Jerome better than I did, and because I met him really got to know him after he retired, and that is exactly who he is. I mean,
mm-hmm.
like we were talking about it before. You meet somebody, and when they act that way, we are wired to start trying to find an angle. What is he trying to get out of this? What's he really after? After knowing Jerome, I came to realize he's not after anything. That's just who he is. And I credit his mom and his grandmother for raising him to be that man. I mean, he's a model. He really is. And now that he's not here, you realize just how good a model he really was.
Yeah. One of the stories I didn't get to tell was my very last memory of Kevin Duckworth. He was getting ready to go on the summer tour, and he and Jerome were in my office, and they got in a little bit of a fight, and they were arguing in my office, and it was over who cared more about the team and who cared more about Portland. And I remember sitting there, and Brittany was in there, and we were just watching these two go after each other because Duck dared to tell Jerome that he cared more about the team and more about Portland than he did, and so I just watched that unfold.
But what an argument. And the guys argue over playing time. They argued over who scored the most points, who got the most rebounds, who did this, who did that. They were arguing over, and as the community service director, I'm sure you were very, very happy to hear that.
Yeah, well, that was such a special time. I think you heard it over and over again today. The office was maybe 40 people at the most at that particular time, and so we were all a family. And I was very young at the time, and we grew up. We grew up together. We all grew up together.
Very young.
Yeah, I am.
There you go.
Yeah.
The thing is, we all lament the fact that Jerome left us too soon, and yet if anybody crammed a whole lot of living into the years that he did have on this earth, I think we all would be proud to be able to say that we could match that kind of joy and just vibrancy that he brought to every day.
Yeah, he was. It's sad. What's really sad for me is that I have known him for a very long time, and I'm going to get this one in because my son was just like, I can't believe you. I'm so glad you didn't mention me, but on the front of the Oregonian when we made the finals against Detroit. So it was the first time in a very long time the team was headed to the finals. There's a picture of Jerome holding the baby on the front of the Oregonian, and that was my son. He couldn't not hold a baby if there was a baby anywhere around him. And as much as he got teased and as much as he had the Romeo reputation, there was nobody I knew that wanted to be a dad and a husband more than Jerome. He just took his time, and it's a good thing he did. It's just what's bittersweet is that he was married for about a year and a few months, and that's just not fair.
But he did it right. I mean, too many guys get married too soon, and they do the wrong things and head down the wrong paths. He loved Terry with everything he had.
Yeah, he did.
And to me, I think that he may not have been married long, but he was married good.
Yeah, he was. He was.
And as you say, you got to see his transformation to a lot of different phases of life. A player, somebody who had been single, to a dad, to a husband, to a grandfather. I mean,
yes.
it was quite a transformation, and just a shame we won't see the continued phases. But it leaves behind a pretty good legacy. And from the courage that Kiara and Terry showed today to get up and give the wonderful speeches they did, I would have to say that they're going to be able to carry on a pretty good Kersey legacy, I think.
There's lots of love wrapping around them, too.
There's no question about that. And granddaughter Hartley is going to have a lot of folks telling her what a great person her granddad is. That's for sure.
Indeed.
That's for sure. Traci, thank you so much for coming on in. I know it's an emotional day. As I told a few people, let's not do this again anytime soon for this reason anyway. But still wonderful to see you under any circumstance.
You too.
Traci Rose, former Blazers Director of Community Relations, now with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Portland as well. As we go to break.